$20 billion scale naval assets and later driving advanced nuclear R&D at Idaho National Laboratory, managing world-class teams, multi-million dollar programs, and breakthrough technologies. He now empowers CEOs in defense, energy, and space to build core operational excellence. As the founder of CoreX and Focal Point certified executive coach, he helps visionary leaders scale innovation, strengthen compliance, heavy operations, and restore clarity and performance without burnout. His mission is simple: equip technical founders and C-suite leaders to stop playing small and lead with precision, discipline, and impact their industry's demand. John, thank you for joining us. I'll hand it over to you, and you go ahead and tell us whatever you want to tell us, and I'll manage the questions in the chat. Or if anybody has a question, go ahead and just raise your hand, and we'll get to you.
All right, good. I don't know who you introduced, man. That sounds pretty heavy stuff.
It does. It sounds awesome.
It's like it's pre-rehearsed. So I won't repeat anything that you said, but a little bit about me that might be useful to the audience. So I work with a lot of companies that are typically in early stage growth. These are founders that have probably in the last 1 to 5 years started new companies, typically in technology engineering space. So I have clients in space, AI, robotics, drones, energy, advanced energy development, data center, energy space. A lot of things you hear about in the news nowadays about exciting things going on in technology are founders and early career CEOs that I work with to help provide clarity, effectiveness, sales, growth, scaling, building high-performing teams that takes their ideas to the marketplace. So it's pretty exciting time right now. And so how do I fit into this conversation? Well, if you imagine these business owners have a need for high value, high performing employees, right? And so that's kind of where service members come in. I believe that service members provide enormous value to these types of companies because service members have the work ethic, they have the smarts, they're infinitely trainable, which is what these employers are looking for. They're not so much interested in understanding the widget right off the bat, but if you're trainable and you can come around quickly to understanding whatever that widget is, but you have the value set, you have the ethics, and you bring value to the table because you can lead high-performing small teams. This is exactly what these employers are looking for. So I might be able to connect you with folks like that. I'd love to have the conversation. And by the way, after this opportunity we have to talk now, if you want to stay in touch, I would very much welcome that. I will tell you, when I transitioned from the Navy, and when was it, 2017, so almost 9 years ago, time flies, 9 years ago, I wish I had had someone to just text, call, bounce ideas off of, have a conversation with that was just brass tacks, no BS. Hey, what is it like out there? What do I need to focus on? The struggle is real. Adapting to a different environment is real. I get all that, and willing to help in any way, shape, or form that I can because I've kind of walked in those shoes. So yeah, that's me. I'm willing to open up the floor to any conversation. I want this to be a dialogue. Get to know you guys a little bit and hear what you have on your minds, and have that dialogue. So I'll open it up.
Jordan, go ahead.
Hey, John, thanks for being on here with us. My question for you is for
Yeah,
AI,
absolutely.
what type of skills would you say people are looking for right now with AI since it's just now emerging?
Uh, that's a great question. I bump into so many AI entities nowadays. It seems like every time I turn around, someone's got another idea about how to do what with AI, and they're founding a company to try to get out in front of everybody else. So it is the marketplace is saturated, and it's not shy of ideas. So people are clamoring to get the next best, greatest thing out there in AI. You probably see that, right? You can't turn around and you have this new product, this new widget that's going to do something spectacular that AI is going to do that humans used to do, and that type of thing. And I have a number of clients in that space. But to your question, what are they looking for? They're looking for folks with ideas on how to make AI valuable to folks that aren't used to using AI, right? So you have the folks that are smart in AI. You have the folks that are engineers that probably were in AI space long before it was a common, publicly understood term. Then you have folks that are trying to create value to folks that don't know what AI is. And there's a lot of businesses out there right now that are falling over themselves, that they realize the value AI potentially has in their business, but they don't know how to bring it into their company and then how to make it work, right? So you have a lot of interest in folks that can communicate well, that can be essentially a salesman to here's our product, here's how that product will work in your business. Let us demonstrate that for you. And and then that business to business sales relationship, there's a lot of interest on, hey, we've got a product here, we need folks to be able to communicate that to companies that are struggling with how to adapt AI into their business, because they're not AI smart, but they realize if they don't adapt, they will quickly become that dinosaur that gets out competed in the marketplace. So there's a niche there, right? So if you're smart, you're technology savvy, and you speak that language, there's this opportunity for you to connect in that way, to create that opportunity for folks that are trying to adapt in that space. Um, and there's no shortage of demand there. There's a lot of folks looking for folks to join the team to create that opportunity. Does that Jordan, does that help answer your question? What are
Yes.
your
Yeah.
thoughts about that? Is that what you're seeing? Like where are you at in that space?
Yeah. It's just like so many different tools. You don't know which one to use right now, but there are people that are like getting really good at one tool and then leveraging that. So I just didn't know, like, from your standpoint, what are you seeing? But you've answered that, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'll tell you something else I am currently seeing, and you're probably seeing it too, is you see a lot of AI tools coming out, and you're right, it's confusing because there's so much out there, right? And what folks are actually working on now is simplifying that. So they're creating AI tools that actually you don't have to know what the best AI tool is to get something done. All you need to know is what your problem, what your pain point is. Like, hey, I'm doing something and this is painful for me. I need AI to try to help me out. They're developing like a hyper level AI. You ask that AI a question and it goes and finds the right AI tool in the right mix to go solve that problem for you. I've seen it do things like, hey, I need you to help me develop a marketing branding strategy using a website with video to help advertise this website and target the following customers with a product that is valuable to them because they have the following pain points. Or don't even tell them what the pain points are. You just tell them, hey, in these verticals, find what those pain points are and develop all of this for me. And that AI will go probably, scour the universe of all the AI tools, optimize a solution, build a website, create the videos, create the marketing strategy, and it'll once it develops all of that, it'll ask you, are you happy with this product? If yes, then let's go. You hit the green button and it goes live on the internet. It's pretty powerful stuff, and it's super fast, and it takes the thinking and the hard part about trying to figure out which AI tool is best suited for various things, right? because you guys have heard about OpenAI, you've heard about Perplexity, you've heard about Claude, you've heard about, right, all of these different AIs. Some of them are good at developing analytical data solutions. Some of them are good at developing critical reasoning. Some of them are good at mathematics. Some are good at developing video content. They have strengths and weaknesses, right? They're not all equally good at all equal things. And so the AI understands this higher level AI understands these strengths and weaknesses, and it optimizes the use of these other tools to get at what this problem is that you're trying to give it. I'm seeing that as more and more as what the where folks are at in AI now. So when a business tries to understand the implementation of AI in their space, they're asking that type of question, and the AI figures out the details. You know what I mean? I have a client right now that, and this is a brilliant thing. This is a smart, good on them for thinking of it. Um, Folks coming from the military, they understand compliance with regulations is important, right? So if you're in the oil and gas industry, or if you're in the mining industry, or if you're in energy, there's CFR federal law about regulating those industries, right? To protect the environment, to protect safety of people, all these types of things, right? And the volume of law is huge. There's a lot of law and regulations out there to maintain compliance on. Big companies have entire departments. All they do is maintain regulatory compliance with the federal government's rules. Well, my one of my clients developed a tool that automates all of that. It automates the step from regulation to compliance is automated. In fact, change management to regulations is now automated. So you don't worry too much about maintaining auditability to a federal regulator and maintaining compliance in your space, because the AI manages that for you. And then you can go in and audit it, which is a much easier process. The federal government likes the automation and the auditability of it because it improves transparency with the industry, right? And so now you can see that where would you fit in as a potential employer to this AI company that provides this product to companies that work in compliance space, right? uh, you get to, because you're already probably pretty smart, depending on where you came from in the military, about the importance of regulations, that engineering kind of process to make sure that folks maintain compliance in, people safety, equipment safety, environmental safety, those, whether it's aviation or in mining the earth or whatever the industry is. This stuff applies across the board. And so they've been able to develop this tool for the market. And you think about, what's my role in that as a transitioning military member? Where can I potentially add value and go work for a company like that, right? Um, how do you shape your resume so that your skill sets fit in that space, so that you become valuable to them as an employee? Those are the types of things you think about when you're transitioning from the military.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I'm trying to do right now. Just trying to see how that fits into a potential job somewhere.
yeah, and happy to work with you on the resume if that helps.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jordan. Denise, what do you got?
Hi, good morning, sir. I am very interested in the business development side, but I don't have any experience in the engineering and technology space. Would you find any value as me, with my other skills I have as a veteran coming to a company like yours without that experience in those two fields?
Yeah, so let me tell you what I do. I currently work with businesses to make those businesses better, right? And so a lot of the value I provide to a company are in areas that you probably are already a deeply rooted expert in. For instance, Denise, where did you go? You left my screen. I think you're
Oh,
still out there. Are you still out there?
yeah.
Okay. So, you have probably a deep history and experience in working with, teams of various sizes, anywhere from 5 to 20 in a group of 100, 500 folks that have a common mission to go make something happen, and they need accountability. They need clarity and direction to be effective. um, how they communicate and how effective they are at internal dynamics. So they're less about trying to, get out of their own way, and more about serving the mission of the company. These are all things that are come very natural to you, right? Coming out of the military, because that's what we did. That's what we do, right? That's what we do actually really well. You see that on the news today. You turn on the news, you see about how effective we are at doing those types of things. All we're doing is translating what the mission is and translating those skill sets into a different mission set. And so the mission set is trainable. You can quickly learn about new missions and different objectives and what the company's trying to achieve. But those innate skills that you have as a communicator, as a team player, as a team builder, as a team enabler, as a leader on a team to create clarity and mission focus and task focus to get things done, those types of skills are invaluable to an employer. And I don't care what the employer is trying to do or what industry they're in. They're all trying to do the same types of things. There may be employers on this call that would agree with me, right? And so if you focus your resume into those areas to create the most value and impact, right? And I'm less concerned about learning what the technology widget is, because that will come with time. And good employers will recognize that your value to them, and they'll be willing to train you. And there's no doubt you'll be able to be very trainable, and you'll come up to speed on, their particular vertical ins and outs. That is less important than the ethic that you bring to the organization. So I don't know, Denise, did I answer your question there?
You did. Thank you so much.
Yeah, give me some feedback. Yeah, so reach out to me if you want additional one-on-one conversation with that. I'd enjoy that. Thanks for the question.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Denise. Michael, hold off for just a second, but keep your hand raised because I have Jim Tolbert here as well. And so I'll give him a quick intro, and he knows John. So for more than 3 decades, he's built a career at the intersection of strategy, finance, and private equity-backed operations. He began at Morgan Stanley and M&A and later advised leading financial institutions at McKinsey. For the past 20 years, he has led scaled education companies, serving as both CFO and longtime CEO of private equity-backed platforms. Today, he works with seasoned executives who want to become independent sponsors, helping them navigate deal sourcing, structuring, and investor access by drawing on his experience operating, acquiring, and growth PE-backed businesses. So thank you, Jim, for joining us and joining John here. So I'll give it to you for a minute, and then we'll just get back to the discussion.
Well, thank you very much, Rob. And like Dr. Carter, I very much appreciate that kind introduction. And John and I actually come as sort of a package, and I'll explain how we work together. But I also appreciate that this forum is primarily about how to look for employment post-military. I am going to throw at you a very different concept. I am going to throw at you how to buy a company. And this will obviously lead to some very obvious questions, which I will raise and then address, but that's essentially what I'd like to share with you, how to buy a company. So what gives me the qualifications to even be in front of you today? And there are several. As Rob explained in my introduction, I spent a good part of my career working with investors, private equity, to acquire and run companies. So I have lived this, I have done this, and now I'm working with executives to help them do that. But I'd also like to explain some further connections I have with this audience. I was born into the United States Air Force. My dad was an Air Force officer. I was born on an Air Force base in Sevilla, Spain, in a year that I'm not going to share with you all, but just suffice it to say, Generalissimo Franco was still running Spain when I was born. And in fact, my parents gave me the middle name Enrique as a souvenir of my birthplace. But what's even more important about my dad's career and the relevance today, after having served in Vietnam, my dad exited the military and bought a business. And I basically grew up with watching a father who was a veteran, an Air Force officer veteran, buy and run a company for the bulk of my childhood. So I would like to share with you that experience and relate that. The other thing is, how did I come to the Seven Eagle Group? Well, I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I have a very good friend here in Dallas who's a West Point graduate and with another former Army officer bought and are running a business here in Dallas. And when I asked him how I could speak with an audience such as is here today, he immediately referred me to Seven Eagle, and that is how I got here today. And then the last thing I'm going to share with you is sort of a basis of why I'm speaking with you. My previous company was trade schools. I ran a school that taught medical assistant, electrical, HVAC repair, and a variety of other trades. And I had campuses in 4 states and several here in Texas. And two of my largest campuses were in El Paso and Killeen, Texas, which were outside of two of the largest Army installations in the United States, Fort Bliss and Fort Hood. And over the course of the years that we ran those trade schools, we helped literally hundreds of service individuals exit the military and get civilian-related job skills. So I think those are a variety of things that, again, I think connect me with this group here today. So the first question, I'm going to pose 5 questions that may be on the top of your mind. And again, this is for the individual who says to him or herself, you know what, I really would like to run a business. So the first question is, what related skills do I have? And I think Dr. Carter did an outstanding job of explaining, given his years in the military and his working with veterans in the business world, all the skills that you do have, such as compliance, such as processes, technology, what have you. But I think there are a ton of transferable skills between the military and being an entrepreneur. The second thing is, I don't know how to buy a company. Well, that's where I come in. So my company is called Exec Cap Advisors, and I'm going to flash my contact information at the end of this call. But basically, what I do is I help mid-career executives buy companies. Well, why would a mid-career executive even want to buy a company? There are several reasons. One, they're in transition. Like yourselves, they're between professional opportunities and they have the bug to own and run a company. I left a good job to go run my company. Best decision I ever made. The second is they're capped out at wherever they are. You know, that they have gotten to the point where they don't see themselves rising any further. And to buy a company gives them several different avenues to expand themselves professionally. And I hate to sound craven here, but there's a third reason. You know what the number one source of wealth creation in this country is? It's not entertainment. It's not sports. Very few people get to do those. It's owning and running and selling a business. And that is really, if you look statistically, how the richest people in the United States obtain their wealth. It's owning, running, and selling a company. And again, I'm here to help you do that. The second was, I don't know. So the first is, what related skills? I don't know how to buy a company. That's what I'm here for. I don't have the money to buy a company. Guess what? Not many people do. But what there is an incredible pool of an incredible pool of investors out there looking for good executives to run good companies and grow those companies. I took advantage of that capability as well. And one of the things that I help the individuals who are interested in pursuing this path is to access that capital. I've never run a company before. And that would obviously make sense for someone just exiting the military. And that's where Dr. Carter and I collaborate and work together. He and I met through a professional organization we both belong to. And what I very much look forward to doing is helping someone buy a company and then Dr. Carter sort of guiding them through the process of running that company and developing in a more refined manner the skill set to lead an organization. So that's kind of how he and I work in tandem on this. And then the last question I will pose before taking whatever real questions you guys might have, what company should I buy? And I look at the jobs that people do in the military, and I see all kinds of opportunities to acquire companies. For instance, I see someone's job title as being logistics. There are a ton of logistics companies out there that I think are ripe for acquisition. Corporate security. I think if you know corporate security, there's a lot of companies out there that if you could take a leadership role in acquiring those businesses. Someone who has done procurement in the military, has worked with a lot of vendors over the years, and probably has a good network of companies they could reach out to. Anyway, the process is a lot more complicated. I'm going to share my screen for 1 minute, if I may, and just give you all a chance to see my contact information. And this is a document that should we have the privilege of speaking, I will take you through in more detail how this all works. This is my contact information, and I would very much welcome every one of you to contact me, and we can figure out a time and I can explain the process in more detail. So with that, and I'll leave this up just for a couple more seconds, I would be happy as well as Dr. Carter to entertain more questions.
Thank you so much, Jim. So Michael, you've been patient, and I imagine this is for John because it was for before Jim was speaking. So go ahead, ask your question, and we'll let Jim and John just kind of tag team it.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Yeah, my question was for Dr. Carter, and it was kind of pivoting back to the whole AI piece. For me, in regards to AI, I'm kind of a cautious optimist, and I'm wondering what your perspective is with AI in relations to automating certain jobs in the corporate world. For me, in my perspective, I look at AI and the vulnerabilities that it has, specifically with supply chain purposes, the immense amount of power and infrastructure that's required to power this new AI apparatus that is everywhere now. And like I said, there are vulnerabilities with it. And I'm just curious if these discussions are being had, when you advise and discuss this with your corporate partners, these vulnerabilities that AI do have, and maybe cautioning them to not fully replace people with AI systems.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for that, Michael. That's a good point. So, vulnerability of AI, I'll tell you that a lot of this stuff is we're trying to figure it out as we go, right? You're talking about guardrails and where is it appropriate? Where is it not appropriate? All these types of questions. And it's kind of like changing the tires on the bus while the bus is going down the highway at like 90 miles an hour, right? But folks are aware of these questions, and they're trying to figure it out as they're implementing, which is there's risk associated with that, right? I will tell you that a lot of folks they're not thinking about AI in terms of how do I replace my workforce. That's not really the question they're answering. We're trying to figure out. What they're trying to figure out is how do I bring AI in to my organization as a tool to help my workforce be faster, be smarter in decision making, and reduce the cumbersome work practices that we're all kind of laboring under, to kind of streamline some of these things for us so that we can all operate as an organization at a higher level. That's what they're trying to figure out. You've probably heard of agentic AI. It's kind of one of the buzz terms that's kind of out there now. A lot of folks are trying to figure out how to develop agents that are AI based to augment the workforce, to streamline workflows in their space. So if you're in logistics, logistics is a big data problem, right? You're trying to move things between nodes in an optimized fashion, and the dynamics between the nodes is changing daily, whether it's international trade or just, imagine a logistics node and network, right? And you're trying to optimize the trade across that network. That's a great problem for AI to solve dynamically in real time, that it would take humans a much longer and slower process, right? So how do we create a solution? By the way, uh, you know, in any given space, there are competitors. They're all trying to outcompete each other to be faster, smarter, and better than their counterpart, and AI allows them to do that, right? Um, I don't think anyone foresees taking humans out of the loop, because at the end, you always need someone to manage the AI, to develop the AI, to develop an AI that's smarter, and to ultimately make a decision on things, right? And to manage people. In fact, the direction I see things going is you're going to have the AI as a potential tool, kind of like the calculator, to go figure out a complex big data problem. But at the end of the day, you still need people in teams talking to each other in a very efficient way to optimize what the AI is doing, to outthink the competitor, right? And you kind of see this in the news nowadays, right? When we're developing target sets every day against Iran, AI has a big thing they can do there to close the targeting cycle, right? It, it's astonishing on a day-to-day basis how quickly we're able to do that now. But there are roles and responsibilities for the human that will never go away in that loop. And private commercial business is the same way, right? There's never a business owner that's just going to all turn it over to AI and they're going to go play golf all day long, right? There's people going to have responsibilities to oversee, to make sure the decisions that are made are correct, and that the information provided and the recommendations provided by the AI are on point, make sense, and are in line with the company's ethics and moral culture, right? So that they're making decisions correctly. So there's always going to be a role for the human in that, but they are thinking about those things, and it's moving fast. Month to month, the environment and landscape is changing in this space. So I don't know how soon most of you are transitioning out of the military. Maybe some of you already have. Maybe some of you will soon in the coming months. But what it looks like in a year from now is very different what it looks like today, right? Um, but one thing will remain constant is the way humans talk to each other, and what humans need from each other to operate in teams will be a constant. And what you bring, again, going back to what the value you guys bring to the table, is you have a background that is deep and valuable to employers to manage these types of decisions and technology implementation strategies within their business. That takes people to do, right? And you actually have a leg up in that space because you have so much experience working in small, medium-sized teams that outpaces your commercial and private counterparts, quite frankly, right? And you bring a value to the table that that an employer really appreciates. So if you're able to communicate that and connect to the right people, and this is the last point I'll make to your question. It's kind of unrelated to your question, but super important. As you guys position yourselves to transition and be most effective in private industry, what is probably the biggest impact leverage point that you guys have is who you're connected to, who you know, and who your champion network is in that process, right? So if you have folks in your network, maybe you haven't talked to them in a few years, go back and reintroduce yourself, rewarm that relationship, let them know what you're up to and what your interests are and what you think you're looking at as you transition out. The more people you're connected with, I consider myself now part of your network and others that you've connected with over the years. Hopefully you've collected those connections, rewarm those relationships, open those conversations up, because you never know who that person knows directly, or that person may know of someone that would be of value to you as you go on this journey of creating what you're going to be next in that next chapter of your voyage, right? And that may open doors that you would never imagine, right? Jim included, right? He just gave you a talk about running your own business. I don't know if that's something you've ever thought about, but I will tell you that it's super exciting to be an entrepreneur. It's kind of intimidating because you're stepping into not just a different ecosystem in terms of military versus civilian, but now you're a business owner in the, so to some people that could be very exciting. To some other folks, it could be very intimidating. When you hear the term executive, don't let that turn you off. You guys are all executives and you can operate at that level very quickly as you transition out. Don't let that kind of language slow you down. You guys are more than, if your mindset is right, you're more than capable of taking on those types of responsibilities, no matter where you're at in the rank chain coming out of the military, whether you're an E5 or an 009. You guys are ready to go take those things on if that's something that you want to do. You just have to have the right connections and support network to get you there. And that's what Jim and I are here to talk to you about. So Michael, appreciate the question. Did I answer it?
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
I kind of rambled there, touched on many things, but I want to get some information out that hopefully is helpful to the larger group.
Yes, sir. Value added. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, Michael. Michael Freehan, you got a question?
Yes, I do. Second, Michael. Hey, good morning to both of you. Thank you for coming and meeting with us. Just a little background on myself before I ask my question. I spent my career in aviation maintenance and maintenance operations, and now I'm currently branching into the world of business. And I just began my MBA program, and actually just got back from a 4-day residential, which was amazing, and it was really great to work with my cohort. But it kind of made me realize I'm a little outgunned when it comes to the material, and I'm kind of finding that I'm playing catch up, so to speak, because my initial background before the military was I was a designer, which is not a kind of relevant to that world. So my question is, what recommendations or resources do you have, whether it be articles or a book or even case studies that I could utilize to kind of give myself or anyone else in this situation like a leg up, against the main crowd, so to speak.
Michael, where are you getting your MBA from?
University of California, Irvine.
Oh, fantastic. I also have a MBA, so I can certainly relate to what you're doing. And my advice is to do exactly what you're doing. Congratulations. Go get a formal business degree. And there was a lot of people in my MBA program that were coming either from outside business, they were coming as engineers. And there's like an infinite number of really good books out there that I could recommend. But what you are doing and investing in your education and your career is probably the best advice I could give you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And Michael, I would add to that this the cohort that you mentioned is kind of the starting point, right? I mentioned the importance of connections and your network. You mentioned your learning curve on case studies and reading materials and things like that. I think, reflecting back on my experience after I retired, probably the most impactful value added experience was not just connecting back to my network, but really connecting in a meaningful way. And what do I mean by that? They are your case studies, right? These are folks that have walked in the footsteps you're about to walk in. You want to learn as much as possible from them, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, right? What worked, what didn't work. Everybody's on a different journey, so different things work for different folks. But just to hear their stories is super important, because you will get nuggets from them, both good and bad, of things to avoid and things that might attract you in different directions. But really dig deep in terms of their case study history and what they've learned, and who do they know that might help you propel to the next step. So it's, in addition to that first contact, it's about their second and third contacts, right? As you grow that network. I think that is super important and impactful in terms of connecting you to opportunity, right? And that's what you're looking for. Because in many cases, when I retired, I didn't know what I didn't know, right? I had done something for 30 years. I was super, in the center of my comfort zone. I had figured that part out, and now I was going out and figuring out, okay, well, what is it about what I did is valuable to people that I don't know, or I don't think I know real well, and how do I apply that skill set? And these are all questions you guys are kind of asking now, right? To try to understand where you're going to land, what is your new comfort zone. um, I, my personal approach was to leave nothing off the table. I asked a lot of questions. I talked to a lot of people. There were a lot of things I thought I was doing that was making a difference that wound up not making a difference. And there's things that I probably should have been doing that I wasn't doing because I didn't think it mattered, but it really did. Right. And you can shorten that learning cycle, steepen the learning curve, so to speak, if you engage with as many folks as you can and pick their brains about what worked for them, what didn't work for them, and try to apply that to your own journey. I think that is the base case study law of, learning experience that you can give yourself. I've never been a fan of business books. I've never been a fan of, just interacting with business is about interacting with people. You are all, served military. You're all great communicators. You understand people and what makes people, what motivates people, how people think, how to drive people to mission accomplishment. That is the most valuable thing. Now you're just trying to figure out how to convert that skill set to whatever niche area, is going to occupy your time for the next few years. And I will tell you, the last thing I would share is, don't be too hard on yourself. You don't have to get it right the first time. I think the statistics say that a lot of folks that get out of the military, they're in whatever they're going to do for a couple of years. They learn a lot and then they pivot. And wherever they pivot to after 2 years or so is where they really wind up landing. But it's that 2 years is part of the discovery journey, right? So don't be too hard on yourself if you can't figure it out instantly. I know we're all high achievers and type A personalities. We want to nail it the first time out of the gate. It typically doesn't happen that way, And so give yourself some grace and consider it a learning experience. And you guys are all fast learners, so you'll figure it out quick.
Thank you very much. Seriously, I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Semper Fi.
Semper Fi.
Michael, thanks for that question. This is kind of already asked, and we've talked about AI quite a bit, but I was talking to a small business owner not too long ago, and they had implemented AI into their business in many different ways, but one of them was automated for like customers to contact the company, and both customers and employees were very dissatisfied with it, and they saw a loss in production. And I'm just wondering if either you, Jim, or John, are there areas that you're seeing that AI kind of is being overused, or maybe companies are stepping away from it because they are seeing kind of that lack of customer service or personal interaction? Is um what's your insight on that?
Yeah. Jim, you want to take first swing at that one?
Well, I'm going to actually hit the ball back to you. I'm not the tech guy on the call. There's a variety of ways that I use AI. I'll give you two examples just from yesterday. So one of the verticals we're looking at rolling up is buying law firms. And for those of you who know the legal industry, it's complicated to buy a law firm, particularly if you're not an attorney, but there is a structure that we are pursuing that will allow us to do this. There's about 200,000 law firms in the United States. And our goal is to reach out to them and engage them in a conversation about selling us their law firm. And we are just getting a flood of data that we can't even begin to assimilate, synthesize in a timely manner. And the team I'm working with is using artificial intelligence in order to very efficiently synthesize information and help us draw conclusions. So that's one great example. The other is my company in growing what we're doing are working with interns. And so, ironically, if in business school programs around the country, I keep hearing, that it's kind of tough to get a job these days. And it's kind of tough to get a job because particularly entry-level positions are being eliminated because of AI, which doesn't help someone who is just graduating. And I have a son and who's getting his MBA right now. So I, from both a personal or a professional perspective, can relate to this story. So we actually posted a intern position in my company to give people kind of real life examples. We got 200 resumes like in a week. And we couldn't even begin to synthesize. Again, I'm going to use the word synthesize and draw conclusions from all of that input without the use of artificial intelligence. And someone I'm working with has put together this terrific sort of scoring model of the 200 candidates we received resumes and applications from in order for us to, in a timely manner, respond and identify the group that's going to begin working with us. So I can't speak to the technical aspects of AI, but those are just two examples this week where we have incorporated AI into the business we're working on.
Yeah, Jim, I would launch off of that and add some additional stuff. Here's my observation, just watching businesses trying to navigate this whole AI thing. I think in general, folks are they're clamoring to find out how to use AI. They're not quite clear on it, but they know they probably should, because if they don't, they'll quickly antiquate, they'll become a dinosaur, and they won't be competitive. So they feel an urge to try to bring AI on, and they're trying to figure out what its role is going to be. It's a tool, right? And so, like someone said earlier, there's a lot of tools. There's a lot of AI tools out there, and it's growing exponentially. So it's a lot of confusion going on. Like, what's the best tool? How do I do this? Where should I implement it? At the end of the day, that growth, that implementation process, that journey to try to understand how a business should bring AI on is a people problem, right? Teams of people, individuals have got to get in a room, figure out what their business is about, what tasks do their businesses do, and what are the best suited tools for an AI to take on maybe some of those technology solution within their business. That's a human conversation. So teams of people have got to get in a room and have a conversation about hammering out this solution to this problem, right? You're not going to hire an AI to figure out how to implement AI, at least not yet. And so the solution is a human-based issue. And so that's where teaming, communications, trust across a team, to work across departments that may not normally talk to each other, but now they got to get in a room together and solve this, comes into play. Well, these are all skill sets that you guys shine at, right? These are all skill sets that an employer needs to go solve this problem. Now, here's the irony of it. Not all employers know that they need humans to solve their AI issue. They think an AI is going to solve their AI issue, right? So it's almost like they don't know what they don't know yet, because we're trying to change the tires on the bus while the bus is going down the road, down the highway. But that's not your problem to solve, right? What you really want to do is put yourself in front of as many potential employers as possible, advertise your value statement and get them to understand that you are part of that solution that they're struggling with, right? Get them to understand that, hey, it is part of solving the AI problem is not being another AI. It's you need a smart human in the room to help you figure this out. And that's where I work with companies to help them get to that point. If you look 5-10 years into the future, there's a lot of pontification about what's the role and how will technology eventually land in this space. But what's absent, what I think will become critically important is, well, what's the role of the human in this, right? The role of the human's never going to go away. Maybe we'll become the architects of the AI, in a lot of skilled labor. You hear a lot of conversation about this. Not all of us are going to become AI engineers, right? But no one's ever going to, AI is never going to replace the skilled labor that is the welder, the pipe fitter, the plumber, the carpenter, the people that are going to build the things that we're going to have to use to make AI work, right? Who's going to build the data center? Who's going to break the ground? Who's going to dig the hole? Who's going to pour the concrete? Who's going to build the structure? AI has nothing to do with any of that. It may streamline the project that gets this thing built, but you're going to need smart program managers. You're going to need smart project managers. You're going to need smart craftsmen to go actually make those things happen. That will never go away. And you guys have infinite amount of skill to offer in that space. So seize that and take advantage of it while everybody's clamoring over the AI thing, right? And quite frankly, I don't. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
No, I just want to add on to that, and I agree with everything John just mentioned. I think manual labor is going to be a component that AI is not going to be able to replace. So if you so choose, getting a skilled trade is critical. But I'll tell you something else where I've seen in the short amount of time in my career, relatively speaking, that AI is not doing, it's creativity. We came up with a business model for acquiring law firms, and I've used AI extensively to test the theory, to ask questions, but it was not going to come up with this idea without the right prompts. And so I think that's something else where I think the human element is never going to go away, is having the creativity and the imagination to come up with new ideas. And if being an entrepreneur is in your future, that will never be replaced by AI.
Yeah, spot on, Jim. I agree with that 100%. Absolutely.
Well, that was fantastic.
So what if any of this has resonated with folks? Or not resonated at all?
Albert, go ahead.
So one of the big things you mentioned that really resonated with me was the importance of creativity, even within the tech space and the so-called the hard skills. Like even coding, it takes a certain degree of creativity to get yourself above other candidates in that area. So there's still.
I agree. I think AI, I'm not a coder, so I don't know that world, but I know that AI does a lot to help and expedite coding. It's the prompts that is going to is going to differentiate you. What questions are you even asking that is the human element?
Exactly. There's still a space for not just creativity, but thinking how you can make it more elegant, how you can simplify, how you can make it fit better. And I really appreciate it. I think of it as more of a power tool as opposed to regular hand tools. And so that's what's differentiating people is those who can use power tools and those who have to rely on just a hammer, for example.
Right, right. And from an entrepreneur standpoint, as Jim has kind of said a few times now, if you're that next person that thinks of that, use case for AI that helps solve someone's problem, that someone is going to pay you to develop that tool and sell it to them, right? Your job is to figure out that great idea. AI is not going to think of that, right? It's the creative human that's going to think of that. And second, what problem is it solving for whom? And go find those people and create a relationship with them. And now you've got a business, right? That's the business part. Um, Huge amount of opportunity out there right now for that sort of thing. That's why you see literally thousands of new businesses started just based on people with ideas connecting with trying to solve other folks' problems.
And by the way, this is going to age me embarrassingly, but I was around for the dawn of spreadsheets. And I could imagine when Excel or Lotus or whatever those first spreadsheets were called, everyone's like, oh, this is going to put everyone out of business. No one's going to have a job. Quite the opposite. You know, spreadsheets accelerated what we were able to do. And I think AI is going to be the same way. I think AI is just going to boost all of our productivity in whatever kind of career path you go down.
Yep. Michael, we got just a couple minutes left. So what do you got?
Yeah, real quick, I find this very interesting and honestly relevant in my situation, just because of the curriculum. A large part of it from my own program is based off of AI. And to be honest, I was surprised in that a lot of our instructors encourage the use of AI because they believe that if you don't use it, as we kind of mentioned, you're going to be behind the curve. And companies are utilizing this tool, to get the upper hand, right, so to speak. And a lot of the things that we kind of discussed pertain to with AI. You're using it as a tool. In that sense, you're not replacing your brain with it, and you have to learn the questions to ask and the right prompts to ask, because there's bias and there's so many other factors that come into it, and it's a learning curve. But obviously it's extremely efficient. But I also, do believe that it's at the end of the day, there's a human being that's using this tool to help them make a decision. And so I don't think it's going to be the end all be all, to end everyone's issues. I think it's going to be something that's obviously used to help with process and, just it's just going to assist us, but I do find all this extremely interesting and relevant, like I said, to my own case. So yeah, this is great.
Yeah, Michael. Hey, another quick 30 seconds. I'm working with a client. They've probably been in business, CEO, 10 years in technology, IT, for example. They recently founded a new effort in AI space that essentially fences off and creates credentialized human intellectual property and separates it from AI generated information. So, vast majority of the internet now is AI generated. I think the percentages are up around 60%. And the human generated information, intellectual property is shrinking rapidly, right? And so it's important to maintain AI fresh and injected with new information instead of it breathing on its own exhaust, so to speak, right? Which can rapidly degrade its value if it starts to plateau and it doesn't learn from itself very well. In fact, its propensity to hallucinate uh, grows exponentially if it doesn't have new creative injection of new data that's human generated. By the way, that's kind of the niche for the human, right? And so this business owner now has created a whole new business on fencing out what is human generated, protecting it, so that companies that are like the Claudes and the Perplexities and the Open AI, the LLM companies now come to him in because they know that he is credentialized human generated information versus AI generated information as a value proposition for them, right? So they come to him, they pay for that service, and now they know that what they've got is human generated information versus the 60% of stuff that they don't want to have injected into their large language models. He has created a value around that, right? But it creates you need a human to think of that opportunity and then create a business from it, you know. And there's so many new types of opportunities that are generated by AI that never existed before, this being an example of one. So you need some time and space to think of these ideas and then actualize them. create a business around them. A lot of folks are sitting on potential, a lot of money, creating those types of new types of businesses. You're probably talking about a lot of that type of stuff in your MBA, I imagine. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We took you right to the top of the hour. So connect with John and Jim, both of them. I posted their LinkedIn's and Jim had put in some other information, so I posted a picture of that a couple times. So thank you guys so much for coming on and just donating your time to us and just providing some very valuable insight and words. Thank you.
It's been an honor and pleasure. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Best of luck to everyone. Thank you, Rob, for the opportunity.
Yep. Bye, guys.